Hello and welcome to my art studio here in Amsterdam. I'm Rose Wildsmith, mixed media process artist, and today I'm going to talk about some principles that I use to help me stay really free in my sketchbook practice. I used to think that sketchbooks were really dry and boring and dull, and that you're only allowed to use pencil in them, and that you had to start from the beginning and work through, and if you made a mistake then that was it, the whole book was ruined. I discovered some different ways of approaching keeping a sketchbook that has really helped me, so I thought I'd share them with you. I see my sketchbook as a refuge from the world, a place where I can be completely free and I don't have to worry about what other people think, because you can just close the book. Nobody needs to see it. It's not like it's going to go and be hanging on the wall. I see it as a place of exploration and trying things out, not worrying about whether they're going to work or not. So I think of my sketchbook as a private place. You can be totally free in your sketchbook. So I would say don't let a fear of messiness hold you back. Don't be inhibited about making a mistake, making a mess. Easier said than done, I know, but there are some ways that I've found that can help with that. So one thing that I do is I gave up on the idea of working chronologically. I don't feel like I need to start at the beginning of the book and work through to the end. Sometimes I'll just open the book in the middle somewhere and start there. I also have more than one sketchbook on the go at a time. And that helps because if I've got a page wet, I can just put it to the side and pick up a different sketchbook. So I have a collection of different sketchbooks and I use them all at the same time. Some of them are closer to being finished than others because I bought them earlier and I've had them for longer. But I don't think that I need to finish one sketchbook before I go on to the next sketchbook, and I don't feel like I need to finish one page before I go on to the next page. So that's really helped me to feel a lot more free. I like to work in layers, and that really helps because you can start something and you have no fear of it looking bad because you know that you can always put something over the top. I like to paint over things, I like to stick things over the top, collage things in, and so that means that I feel really uninhibited when I'm drawing or when I'm starting something, when I'm playing around. I don't feel like I have to make something that looks good because I don't have to keep it. I can always put something else over the top. Some of my spreads I kind of consider finished, but I try to not ever feel like I've finished something, because sometimes I like to go back to spreads that I started years ago and add things to them, because I go back, I flick through, and it's one of the benefits actually of having more than one sketchbook on the go at a time and keeping them all kind of in play, is that you are constantly flicking through and looking at work that you've done in the past. And sometimes you'll come across something that you've done years ago, months ago, and think, oh, I know what I want to put on here now. And I really like that these pieces are all evolving and you just kind of give them space and room to evolve at their own pace. And you don't need to rush them. You don't need to think like, okay, I need to pressure this spread to be finished before I can do anything else. Another way that I like to work is I don't necessarily have a plan of where I'm going to end up before I start. I just jump in and I let it evolve as it goes. I find that it is really helpful for me because I feel like I'm on a journey of exploration with the art. I don't like to constrain myself to one medium. I am a mixed media artist, and that's probably because I have a Tigger-like attention span. I get really into something and then I see something else and I get really into that, and so I like to use all different kinds of media. And I think it's quite fun to mix them all together. So I will do painting, I'll do drawing, I'll do collage, chuck it all in the pot, you know, why not? But there are a few principles that can help with working in mixed media. You have kind of oil-based media and water-based media. And sometimes they don't play nicely together because oil and water don't mix well. So if in general, it's better to start with the water-based media on the bottom and then put oil-based media on the top, unless you're doing a resist technique. So sometimes I'll work with like oil pastel or something, and then I'll do a watery wash over the top, and the oil pastel or the wax resists the water-based media. And if that's an effect that you like and that's what you're going for, then that's cool. And you have to be a little bit careful when you're using oil-based media or wax-based media, because it does limit what you can do then with that page. And because I like to have this kind of ongoing, keeping pages open for adding things in later, I'm a little bit wary of using oil pastels. I do use them. I try to just be mindful that it might be difficult to come back over the top. I try to really keep myself as free as possible. So, you know, if I feel like using oil pastels and I use it and then I don't like the result, then I don't really worry too much about it. You know, I have plenty of pages in my sketchbooks that I don't like, and I don't worry about that, because I think either I can come back over them and do something with them, or, you know, it doesn't matter if you have a few duds in there, who cares? Nobody has to see them. Another thing I like to do in my sketchbook is use it as a place to collect things that inspire me. And so I will look through magazines, and if I find really interesting photographs or images that I think are really beautiful, I will just cut them out and stick them in my sketchbook. Because I have these sketchbooks always in rotation and I'm always flicking through them, I'm always coming back across those inspirational images that I've collected. And so I keep things like drawings that my daughter does for me, postcards from museums that I've visited, nice little notes from people, you know, anything, stickers, just anything that I see that I'm inspired by and that I think, oh, I like that, then I just think, if in doubt, stick it in, because then it's been collected and it's, you know, you've got it there. If you keep it separately, it's more likely to get lost. So I just like to keep collecting things that I find interesting in my sketchbook. So like I said before, I think of my sketchbook as a refuge from the world. If I'm working on a project that's like maybe a big painting or something, and I feel overwhelmed, I maybe start to feel uninspired and stuck, then I come back to my sketchbook practice, because I find it to be a really safe place to work in creatively. There's something about working quite small that you can like kind of curl up, and sometimes I curl up on the sofa and work in my sketchbook. You can take it with you, you know, you could go and sit in a favourite place and do something in your sketchbook. I like to write in my sketchbook, so sometimes if I'm stuck and I need to do some brainstorming, I might do that in my sketchbook as well. But the most important thing is to really be gentle with yourself and to not be critical of the work that you do in your sketchbook. It's a place that is kind of, for me, is like kind of a sacred place. It's like, this is my safe, sacred place. So I don't want to start coming in with external critical voices going like, well, why don't you think that's any good, or blah, blah, blah. That's my main thing, is to be as free as you can and uninhibited as you can. And then to also be really gentle with yourself and really kind to yourself and your work, and not judge it too harshly. And just always think, this is just something I'm trying, and if you get a result that you like, great. But really what it's about is the actual doing of it, the practice of it, and how it makes you feel when you're in the moment. So I hope you found that helpful, and I'd love to hear what you think about these ideas for ways of keeping your sketchbook practice nice and free and uninhibited. And let me know in the comments whether you've got any other ideas, whether this is how you like to work in a sketchbook, whether you think this would be too wild for you. Some people really need that chronological thing because they want to be able to go back and say, look how I've progressed. That isn't as important to me as feeling totally free. So I'll see you in the next video. Tot ziens! Doei! Bye bye!